All right, hey, welcome aboard to the ReachKeep Podcast. It's good to have you here. I'm your host, Mike Holmes, here from Sinclair, Wyoming, and the Sinclair Baptist Church. And as always, we like to take time and dig into some healthy discussions on important topics concerning the conservative, Bible-believing local church. So good to have you on board. If you've never been with us before, I'm the director of ReachKeep.com, and we have quite an array of training programs and videos that can be found at ReachKeep.com or at our YouTube channel, which is just simply type in the word ReachKeep on YouTube, and it'll take you right there. So I have been the senior pastor here for quite some time in Sinclair. Recently got things turned over to a new young man, and very excited about that. And so able to spend a little bit more time in part of my passion. I like fly fishing, and I like working with my grandkids, and I like plowing snow, and those are all passions, but I like to work with local churches and helping local churches figure out how they can reach new young families is really what beats inside my heart more than just about anything. So today we're going to be talking about something that kind of sprung up with a couple of questions and some comments that I got from coaching and online. We recently did a series of things that had to do with reaching out to people like right now, how we could reach a new person right now. What can you do? And if you want to get to some of those, there's some real practical things in there. You can find those on our YouTube channel. Or if you're not subscribed to our email, you can go to ReachKeep.com, and there's a button there to make sure that you're signed up, and then you get all the stuff that we send out. But from that, the whole discussion of church growth has come up, and I want to kind of give you my take on some of that. And if you found this because of the title was provocative to you here, that's kind of what we want to talk about. And the idea is being content, okay, with a small church. Is that right or is that wrong? And so we want to kind of cover some of that, so that's where we're going to dive into. Before we get going too far, if you are interested in what we do, ReachKeep.com on YouTube, ReachKeep on YouTube will get you about to everything you need. I think we got 300 different videos on there, training videos, and you can take a look at those all day long, whatever season of the year it is. If it's Easter time or Christmas time or whatever, have a lot of practical things that we did right here in our church that help you as a small church person or even a large church person to help you figure things out. I also spend a lot of time right now doing coaching. And I want to mention that if you're interested in some type of, kind of a personal trainer for your church. I mean, someone to help you with accountability and your ideas for sermons, and you got new people, volunteers, you got new programs, kids stuff. You're trying to figure things out. I spend a lot of time doing Zoom calls and training, helping churches in that regard, and I am here for you, and look forward to helping you. If you're interested in that, you can go to ReachKeep.com, and there's a coaching button which kind of will get you there. But at the top of all of our web pages there, a little green bar that is there, and that's worked really best for us. You can just click on that bar, and it'll set up a 30-minute, 40-minute, we'll talk probably longer, but coaching time between just you and me on a Zoom call. So if you've got a smartphone, we'll get connected on that. You can do it on smartphone or on a laptop, desktop computer. But we can see face to face. We can talk to one another, and we'll hear about what's going on where you're at. I mean, what is happening, and where you've kind of hit the wall or stopped, or you're doing really well here, but I got a little struggle over here. Questions that you just kind of need another perspective of. And as a senior pastor for many, many years, and a person who has spent my entire ministry career traveling from church to church to church, I've just seen a lot of things and can kind of give you some ideas to run with. Mine aren't necessarily always the best, but I can certainly kind of have some input on a lot of your topics that you might be struggling with. So love to meet with you. Please go to the green bar there, click that, and we'll take off and get together here. It'll be this week or next week. However, there's a little calendar that sets you up to some slots I have reserved just for you folks that want to hear and get some little personal training, coaching, and find out how all that works. So the question is, are you content? Okay, if with a small church, is that good or is it bad? Well, let me just start out with, I think, the obvious thing here is that contentment, personal contentment, is a powerful thing. We need to be content and not always be, seeking more or, be unsettled in all that kind of way. So where you are, no matter what it is in your life, I pray that you would have godliness and contentment, and that would be of great gain for you. The question is, are we content with our neighbor never knowing the joy of the Lord? Are we content with our relatives or people that live across the street or down that ranch road or wherever it happens to be? Are we content with them not knowing eternal life? Or are we content with other people not having forgiveness of sins and some of those things? And I'm not content with that. In other words, every person I see, when I, sit in a parking lot of a grocery store, seems to be the most common thing, waiting for my wife to come back out after she's going to find something. And I'm sitting there watching family after family walk in. I get extremely burdened for those families. Like, oh, man, there's a young couple, 3 little kids. Oh, man, wouldn't it be great if those kids were being trained up in the nurture of the Lord? Wouldn't it be great if they were being discipled and they were involved in missions and they were involved in, the beauty of the local church. And so there's a level of discontentment that resides with contentment. And I understand that if you have a small church, contentment on the inside and not beating yourself to death is an important thing on some of that. If you're in a very small community, we're in a town of 427. Well, actually, that's with the old sign. The new sign, our area is shrinking here in Wyoming. We're 373 now. We have a county seat not too far away. We have other people to reach out to. But, we don't have a lot of people in our area. And you can be very small area, but folks, there's always somebody that needs to come to the Lord and to get right with God and some of that. And don't be content for them not having it. Be content in your own side. So small church contentment, good or bad, you'll be able to weigh that out. Now, a lot of the people who are content with the small church and it's all about just growing spiritually. Let me just kind of say this. I absolutely agree. It is important to have spiritual growth going on in your community, of believers that you have. Hopefully you're all learning to pray better and witness better and, sing better and, get better in doctrine and all that. Yes, there needs to be growth. But we don't want to leave it just to that, okay? I believe that there needs to be some level of growth of the assembly. One reason is pretty obvious is because there's a natural attrition, I think that's the right word, of it going downhill. In other words, people pass away, move away, graduate, get jobs, transfer, some of that. So there has to be some level of adding to, or pretty soon you're going to be gone, okay? There won't be anything left because everybody died and went away. There needs to be a level of the assembly growing. Now, are we talking about the mega crazy church growth at all costs? No, and I'll talk about that in just a second. But we are talking about having a larger number, now than you had 3 or 4 months ago. Okay, and we're not talking about mega jumps and all that, but adding to the believers, constantly adding to it. I'm going to give you several reasons and characteristics of that type of growth, numerical kind of growth that are very, very important. We're going to cover that in just a second. But I do want to just make sure that I, cover myself. And we're not talking about, and I wrote it down, the deceptive, slimy consumerism type of growth. We're not talking about that type of thing. We're not talking about growth so that you can compare yourself to some other ministry, that type of thing. That's just a dangerous thing. When you're other pastors, other people around, will you say, hey, how big's your church? I mean, yeah, there's some natural questions. You just want to get context for how a person ministers. But don't let those numbers go to your head. Man, if you're ministering to 24 people and someone else is ministering to 74 people, you put just as much passion into your service and everything as you possibly can. We want your 24, within a few months, 3-4 months, to be 28 or 30, okay? And we can show you. That's what we do. We spend time helping you reach new young families. And there are people in all these communities, and there's ways to reach them, and there's ways, of course, not to reach them. So we will help you with some of that. And that's hence the coaching and hence all the videos that we do, how to reach people now. I mean, that's right there. But we don't want to do it so we can be into that comparison game, and that's just not a healthy thing to do it. And of course, you don't want to do it for selfish reasons, so that you can, be able to brag more, have a bigger salary, or all that kind of the selfishness side of it. Now, we'll talk about it here, and when we go through our 9 different little reasons here. The salary thing. I mean, yes, if you're not getting anything and there's pressure on your family, little bit of help from the church is a biblical thing, as you know. So we want to make sure that we have got the right things going on, that we are growing. So let me just take time to give you these things that I think are important that will help you with church growth. And if one of these, trips your trigger there, or gets you upset, or you're frustrated with it, or don't understand, please let's sign up for coaching. The call, we'll talk about it, or put a comment. And if you're watching this on YouTube, watch this below. Leave a comment here. So. Here's kind of the first one I have. I wrote down, excited for the invited, okay? Excited for the invited. And this is something that I have found, is that when I invite people to church, okay, and I do it all the time, almost everybody I see, like, hey, we got services Sunday, and, sometimes you have longer time, you're able to, soul win or witness to them in a deeper regard, but sometimes you're in the checkout at a grocery store, and you just want to say, hey, we got Easter services coming up, or hey, we got a great kids thing, or hey, we're doing a thing for single moms, and, in a month, and thought you might be interested in coming to that. Excited for the invited means that when they show up, man, there's something that happens. When you see them coming in the door, and you're the preacher, there'll be just a little extra spring in your step. There'll be an extra little decibel in your talk. There'll be a little more zap in your words and your pronunciation. I mean, everything will just go a little bit better because you have invited people. You have excited. You're excited for the invited. And by the way, those people are excited too. I mean, for them to come the very first time, there's a little apprehension, but when they see you, like, oh, good to have you here, that type of thing, that is a great thing. And to have some excitement, and I'm not talking about emotional foo-foo and, all that stuff, but just to be, kind of upbeat because somebody you invited is good. Now, the second one is, and this really goes with the idea of excited for the invited, but it really has to do with your people having that same thing. And I call it like your church people need to see the tools are working. In other words, they invited people. They handed out a flyer. They witnessed to somebody, and that person came to church. Man, when your church people see that, that is a cool thing, okay? When it's kind of like, it's the tool that is working. Like when you build something, if you get done building something, you step back and you go, wow, that is cool. Not like pride, like I did that on my own, but like, wow, we put that wall up. Wow, we painted that. Or I don't know if you ever dug a well. I had an opportunity to work on a place once. We drilled some wells. And when you see water coming up, out of the ground, there's just like something that is cool. It's like, it worked. It worked. And your people need to see that. That is a great joy for them, that they invited somebody and then those people came. And those are very positive things that can happen. The next one I have here is, again, kind of similar, but it's kind of this when people start to invite people and there starts to be a little bit of that momentum and you get a few more people and you were at 30 and now you're at 40, and after church people go, wow, Pastor, that was a great service, it was really neat to see that family, we've been praying for them. In other words, the tool is working, but there's a boldness, and that is the boldness that we find in the book of Acts, that all throughout chapter 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right through there, there's all sorts of this boldness that starts to happen, and it's just people will enjoy that burst of momentum. It will be an exciting thing for them, and that happens with church growth. Now you'll see some boldness when prayers are answered. Those are some great things too, and that's part of that personal growth that we need to have. But when you start to see people come that you have invited, and your people start to see people come that they have invited, it just kind of triggers that level of boldness, which is amazing. Let me give you the fourth one here, and this one is what I call soul winning in the pews. And this is, many of us were raised with the door knocking and going out to highways and hedges and compel them to come in, and we like to spend time witnessing to people in the stores and here and there, and I'm all for that. It's a powerful thing. But there is something about winning a person to Christ that came to church, was invited by a friend, was invited by, a relative or a neighbor. Maybe it's a special day, or maybe it was just, regular day. And they hey, come and see, like the disciples did there. They said, come and see. You want to see what's going on. When they are in the church and they just saw all the people singing, and they see all these converted people with smiles on their faces, and they see the joy unspeakable, and full of glory and all that kind of stuff. Man, when you get that opportunity to give the gospel to them in a Sunday morning or Sunday night or midweek type service, and you get to win them to Christ right there, it's amazing. We have many times seen people have come to church as a visitor, and then afterwards we got talking to them, able to give the gospel to them, able to witness, and see them come to Christ. And afterwards they were like, there was just something different when I walked in the door. There was just something amazing about this place. I felt so welcomed. I felt so loved. I saw everyone singing. I mean, the singing, the testimony of hymns is one of those kind of secret things that we just don't know. When your people really sing good, and people from the world come in that are not used to doing any kind of singing but karaoke, or just maybe listening to it at a concert kind of a way. When they see people singing, it is remarkable change in their life, and that's just something else. So it's soul winning in the building there, the idea of doing that. And man, you get the people come with a question, and if you're doing that, you have, sometimes you're trying to lead someone to Christ, you're talking to them, and there's your church people are right there, and you say, hey, Bob, come over here and tell him how you came to know the Lord, and you already have pre-planned, you got babysitting going on because you got kind of a kids program going on, or your nursery's watching their kids, and it's just a fantastic event to see somebody getting saved. And when your people, again, they've been praying, and this is seeing the tools at work. They're praying for, Mr. John Doe there to get saved, and then Mr. John Doe walks in the door, and everyone's like, whoa, he's here. And then afterwards they see the pastor talking to him, or maybe someone else talking to him, and then they see him, maybe go sit in a chair up near the front of the auditorium after the service, and maybe, bowing their heads and praying. I'm telling you, your people are fired up. And that is an exciting thing, and that comes when you go from 36 to 40, when you go from 72 to 82 or whatever, you start to see some of that, and you see your people starting to grow and to get that momentum, that excitement again that is found in the book of Acts. So let me give you the fifth one here, and sometimes people use the phrase numbers matter. I'm going to change it to a different word here for just this illustration purpose, but it's ordinals matter. If you know what ordinals are, and you do, okay, you may not use that word too often, but ordinals are another name for numbers. They have to do with the positioning of numbers, like first, second, third, those words. The word third is a number. It denotes the position. So does it matter that you have 50 people, okay? 50 is not any kind of magic number, but let me tell you something. Number 49 and number 50, when they walk in the door, okay, and they end up coming, and you've been praying for 50 for a long time. Or number 37 and 38 have been going through a great deal of fighting in their marriage, and they come to church together holding hands. Oh, I'm telling you, when you see number, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, and it's that homeschool and family that has come and played around a few times with your services, but now they're coming and they're really soaking it in, and all the kids are carrying Bibles and they're going off to Sunday school, and they're finally grabbing hold of it. Those ordinals, in other words, those numbers matter. And that's just an important thing that we would grab people. So in other words, if you are at 20, okay, and you've been at 20 for a long time, number 21, 22, 23, 24, whatever, may God bless you as you reach those people. Okay, because those are broken people, 21, 22, 23, and 24. Now, they have real names. I don't know what they are. But in my case, I'm just going to call them 21, 22, 23, and 24. These are the people that have been struggling in their life, and they have no contentment, and they have no vision in their life of what they're supposed to do, and they're just spinning their wheels. I was given an illustration a while back about having a flat tire, and I said, how many of you have had a flat tire? And everyone was like, yeah, I've had a flat tire. And I said, how many of you are the flat tire? In other words, you're the one that's causing all the problems. And man, all sorts of hands went up. Folks, number 21, 22, 23, 24, those are the ones that are the flat tire. They're the broken ones. They're the ones that their life is messed up. And we have this great book and this great opportunity and this great loving Savior, Jesus Christ, to introduce them to and to see them converted and changed. And for the rest of their life, 21, 22, 23, and 24 are going to be involved in your church. They're going to be involved in missions. They're going to be involved in helping in Sunday school. They're going to help you do the carpet, vacuum the carpet. They're going to help you. In other words, everyone has a first day, and they might have been on their first day. They might have been that number. We don't know what that number is, and we don't really care again about to get to the number so we can compare. But we do care about those individuals in the rank and their position. Okay, the idea of 21, 22, 23, and 24. Do you know who they are? And for some of you, you know who in other words, you're inviting them, and you're wanting them to come, and you're praying that they come, and your people are praying that they come, and when they walk in the door this Sunday, okay, because you're doing a special this or that or whatever, man, what a tremendous day that is going to be. And for them, it's going to be like, as they say, the first day of the rest of your life. It is the first day of the rest of their spiritual life. The day that I walked into a church years ago would have been 1978. It would have been in June, probably, of 1978. I'm from a small farm community in eastern Kansas. I suspect that the church probably was running somewhere in the 170, maybe the 200 range, based on just my memories. A lot of those are children because they had a bus ministry or whatever. I was not associated with that. I was older, had graduated from college, and I walked in the door. Let's say I was number 178, okay? And I walked in that door, and that pastor, maybe that was the total that day. We had 178. Well, who was the 178th? Oh, some little blonde-headed, farm-looking kid with a bunch of dirty clothes and looked like a Dutch boy haircut. Now, you wouldn't think I have a Dutch boy haircut, okay? But back in the day, yeah, I had the shaggy look, and I never grew my hair long. My parents wouldn't let me do that, but I was just had that shaggy head. And I could have been number 178, and they might have been praying, for a number or whatever. I don't know, but I'm so glad I went that day, and I was that number, and I was that person. And your people need this concept that the number 21, 2, 3, and 4 really, really matter. So ordinals matter. Okay, let me give you a few more real practical ones here before we wrap up on this podcast. And again, if this is helpful to you, give us a thumbs up and like this. And we appreciate when you share this. And this is what a lot of people do. They go, oh, I need to send this to my pastor friend. So you can, on YouTube, there's a place at the bottom, a little share button there. You can click on the word share and click it, and you can copy the link and email it or text it just right off to somebody. But take some time to do that. And if you've never subscribed, can do that. So, all right, this is number 6 here in my little list here. I wrote, it's easier to disciple folks who are present, okay? Are you called to be a disciple maker? Okay, that's a good question for you. Are you called to be a disciple maker? Do you really love to do that? And that's one of the things I personally love to do is spend time with people, helping them mature and do that. And it is much easier to disciple them when they're present. Now, I can get on my phone, and I have texted people and kind of given them verses and tried to be an encouragement or whatever, but there is nothing like face-to-face. And when you guys are face-to-face in the house of God with a bunch of people, and you get that opportunity to disciple them either in a classroom format or after the church or through the sermon that you preach, or just in making an arrangement to meet for coffee or lunch a little later, it is much easier to disciple them when they are present. So it's easier to do that, and you have a pool of people that you can disciple. So here's the one thing that happens to me, like, hey, let's get together, Bob, let's get together at, Monday for coffee or whatever. It's like, oh, I'm out of town all week on business. It's like, oh, bummer. Well, guess what? I got, Louie, and I got Kent, and I got Sam. I got, 20 other people I can work with because I have filled my church with people that need discipling. So if I feel called to disciple, seriously, I could get on my phone right now, and I could rattle off and set up 2 or 3 appointments within 30 minutes. I'd have people like, hey, let's meet at the coffee shop, have coffee. Let's read the book Mark together. Let's talk about the sermon together. There's a lot of different, let's go through a workbook together. A lot of different ways to disciple. But if you're called to disciple, part of it is they have to be, or it's much easier anyway, if they're present. Okay, if they're present, it is much easier to do that. And it also, when you have a crowd and a little bit more people, you have, 38 when you used to have 32, okay, now you have a pool. You have a few more people to reach out to. So it just gives you that opportunity. And if you've been called, okay, and God burdened on your heart one day, years ago, wherever you were as a young preacher, like, oh, God, I want to reach people, I want to preach to them, I want to disciple them and help them to grow, and that's your passion, then you need a pool of people to reach out and pluck them out and start discipling them. And that's what the local church is. It is that group of people there that you can reach from. So it is easier to disciple folks that are present, okay? Number 7 here, some growth steps can only happen when people are present, okay? You can do all sorts of things on the radio and, radio ministries. You can do it through Zoom calls. You can do, texting and all that. But folks, if you're going to baptize somebody, or they're going to be given in the offering, and or maybe volunteering to teach a Sunday school class, and you're going to be teaching them and training them how to grow and mature, whatever, they have to be present. They just have to be there. And so there are many steps in the Christian life that are required for people to be present. So if you have those people that you're discipling and they show up, okay, and then you have the 2 or 3 more guests come in that someone invited, now you've made that jump over the last few months where you were a few months ago. Now you've added some. You're discipling people, you're growing people, your people are excited, and you're getting momentum. So those growth steps can only happen in some cases when people are present, okay? Second to the last one here is there's a pool to draw from, okay? And we kind of mentioned this already, but it's the idea of, when you want to disciple people, if you have a list of 10 people, or if you have a bunch of folks that are there, yeah, you can do that. The pool, though, the concept of the pool is helpful, and you don't know what is coming up that you would need to draw from. I believe it's in Acts chapter 6 where the disciples were faced with kind of a problem. They didn't foresee it, and all of a sudden it turned out that they were too busy, doing the tables and cleaning and all that. And what did they have? They had a pool to draw from. and they picked out 7 men. I think they became the deacons, first deacons, that type of thing. Was it 7 guys they drew or 6? No, it was Acts 6, 7 guys. Okay, just want to get that straight. But anyway, they had a pool to draw from, and having a pool is a helpful thing that is out there, having people that are just willing and ready to go. And kind of going along with this is the last one here, is with the pool you get deeper resources. In other words, there are more people that will, help with missions. In other words, when you say, we need help this missionary, okay, there's more people to dig into their pocket and put some money towards that. When there's more people, to help with paying the bills, okay, giving the tithes. There's more people that would help with, the finances or adequate salary. And by the way, if this is one of those things, and if you're in the church with 20, 30, 40, or clear up to even, probably close to 100, it's a pretty good chance that you're operating on an inadequate salary from your church. The Bible says that the labor is worthy of its wages, okay? So we know, and nobody likes to ask for money, and I'm not saying all this so that you would be a person that asks for money, but if you have a deeper pool and the offerings go up a little bit and they're able to take the pressure off of your wife who is working a part-time or full-time job because now you're getting a little bit more salary, that's a healthy thing. Okay, that's not a selfish thing. That's a healthy thing. And you and I, as ministers of the gospel, need to live by the gospel. And so as a church grows and those numbers kind of come up and you start to, see the offerings pick up a little bit, and however it works in your place, I don't know how it works, but your deacons or elders or team or whatever, finance team says, Pastor, we're going to give you a raise a little bit. That is a helpful thing. And if you're self-employed or bivocational, and I've been bivocational really all my ministry career, the money wasn't as important to me to put food on the table because I was already working, kind of a side job. I've always done snow removal is kind of what it's been for me. But if there's extra money where you could do something different in your church, as you grow, it's like now we can get a camera and do the live stream thing and reach more people. Oh, now we can, pave the parking lot so our, elderly folks don't have to stumble on the gravel and walk through the mud to come here. Also, now we can do a mailing, and reach out to the new people that move in. We can get the connection card thing going with the new people that move into the community and invite them to church. That all takes money to make those things happen. And as a church is larger, it can do some of those things. All right. So we get back to the kind of the contentment thing. I'm discontent about some certain things. I will let you know that. I'm discontent that some of my neighbors, some of my people in my community, friends, I would call them, acquaintances, are not coming to church, are not finding salvation in Christ. They are caught in, Mormonism. They're caught in some other type of ministry or philosophy, I guess I would say, and I'm discontent. Yeah, I want them to come to know the Lord, and I'm also would like to see a few more kids in our Sunday school, like right now, in a certain age level, because that would be really cool for the teacher. I'd like to see a few more volunteers in some of our ministry to the community, because that would be exciting for those people. I would like to see more prayers answered. I'd like to see more people singing hymns on Sunday mornings when we do the bulk of our hymn singing. There's a lot of things that I would like to see. Are those discontent for me? In other words, am I moping around and in that type of discontentment? No, this is just I have a vision for those people, and you have a vision for those people too. And if you're a pastor that's been involved in the ministry, or this is, kind of your thing that you're doing for your life, you want to see people grow. You want to see prayers answered. You want to see things, coming around. And I trust that you are not one of those that comparing yourself, trying to get more, than the guy down the street and that kind of stuff. I don't think there's really that many people. I think we kind of point our fingers and sometimes interpret things that people are that way. But if you're a man of God, I know that that's not you. I know that you want to reach people because you want to see their lives changed. You want number 21, 22, 23, and 24 because you've been praying for that mom and dad and those two kids, and that's what those numbers would represent. And you just can't wait till they come to Christ and start to grow. And it is absolutely the most wonderful thing to see young families growing in the Lord. And if you need to learn how to reach new young families, in other words, unchurched young families, please get in touch with me. Let's sign up and get a coaching call going. Let's just talk about it. Whatever we can do for you. We have some curriculum. We have different things to help you out with, and we would love to help you do that. So the question here, content with a small church, right or wrong? I think I've tried to answer that. Church growth, the slimy way, we're not going that direction. But church growth the right way, let's build up the church. Let's have where 2 or 3 are gathered, or 4 or 5 or 10 or 11 or 12. In other words, there I am in the midst of you. Let's continue to grow and reach people, for their sake, so that they know the Lord as their Savior. So I appreciate you being with me today. This is, again, Mike Holmes. I'm the former senior pastor at Sinclair Baptist Church, and I just turned things over. I'm very excited about how everything is going, but I just want to spend a moment with you praying and asking God to help you in this area. So I'm going to take my hat off here, and let me pray for you. Father, I want to pray for those that are hearing this. And Lord, there are many that are just really kind of disheartened in some ways because they've been stuck at a particular number for a while. And they're passionate for you, and they're passionate for reaching the community. And I pray, Lord, that you would help them to touch the folks of their town, of their community, of their subdivision, of their city, whatever it happens to be. So bless these men, these pastors as they're out there. And I know there's Sunday school teachers and workers, nursery workers that listen to a lot of this. And I pray that you'd help them in the same way, just to build their class, to build their nursery, to build their little piece of the pie that they have. So, Father, thank you. I pray that you'd bless these folks, and I pray that you'd help their churches to grow the right way, to be healthy, for sure, but, Lord, also to add a few new folks. So thank you for this time. In Jesus' name, amen. All righty. Well, God bless you. Appreciate it. Again, thumbs up, like, share, all that kind of stuff. And if you mail this off to somebody, that's the very best thing that you can do. So we will see you again here one of these days at the what we call the ReachKeep Podcast at ReachKeep.com.